Hey guys, that's Thunder Magic back, and I don't care if you do put your hands on the back of your head as tightly as possible, I'm still gonna blow your mind. I'm gonna blow your mind clear out the back of your head because I just found out some very interesting information. Well, let's back up a little bit though. At the pre-release event, I was informed by some people who sounded like they knew what they were talking about, that there was some sort of mystery to do with like the clues, the actual clue tokens themselves. They also said like it had something to do with the packaging too, potentially, and I guess that was a reference to like the packaging was supposed to be Tamiyo's journal, and then that people finally noticed was printed in a different way, but basically it's been a couple days now, and people on Reddit mostly, and on all sorts of forums, have potentially solved it. Let me start at the beginning with what we do know. There are 6 different clue tokens with 6 different artworks, which is very unusual actually if you go back to the history of tokens, and they all have their own different flavor text at the bottom, which is also actually kind of weird. Most tokens don't even bother with flavor text. Now, one of the biggest cards in the actual storyline is Tamiyo's journal, and what I said before about the pre-release pack actually sort of resembling or supposed to like, it's supposed to be Tamiyo's journal maybe, but it's like the color's a little bit whacked, but the pattern's about right. So the symbol is the same. So the symbol is the same on the cover of Tamiyo's journal and the actual pre-release pack itself. So apparently it had something to do with that. So people started looking at Tamiyo's journal and realized that, although this is very, very hard to do at the actual printing facility, they printed 6 different versions of Tamiyo's journal. They're all identical except for the flavor text. Because this is a really new thing, I didn't actually have time to take a photo of all 6 versions, but trust me, there are 6 different versions of Tamiyo's journal. I saw them in person. They're all prefaced by an entry number. Now, the default one that's shown in all of the artwork and the official releases and everything on Wizards' website is entry 434. That's like the official Tamiyo's journal, and the other ones are the alternates. But they all have a 3-digit number. Isn't that interesting? And people started noticing this originated from the fact that, well, Wizards tipped everybody off, and secondly, all the different languages of Magic cards all had the same number of words in every single clue or something like that. Like, they all tended to match up, and some of them were worded in an unusual manner to make that be true. The people on Reddit decided to go all Jace and thought, hey, I frickin' love puzzles. So they figured out that every 3-digit number on the journal entry corresponded with something on the clues. So how this worked was, the first digit is the clue token with that many number of words in the flavor text total. The second number in the journal entry points out which word they're referring to in the flavor text on that particular clue. And the third number indicates where that word actually ends up in the unscrambled riddle. So once you take all 6 of the words that they're indicating and put them in the correct order, what do you come up with? Well, before I get to that, let's come at this from a slightly different angle. I was going to make a video about a little bit of a pattern that I kept seeing in some of the artwork that just didn't make any sense, and it couldn't have possibly been a printing error, although I was going to present that as a hilarious possibility. Basically a layer in Photoshop that they forgot to hide before sending it to the final version, but then I realized that most of these are actually painted. I believe that's how they still do the artwork. So there's a pattern. Let me just kind of break it down here. The first starts with the card Aim High. He's in the Ulvenwald, and that looks just a little bit unusual on the bottom of the tree. There's no reason for it to be there, and nothing else on the card references why the tree looks like that. So maybe it just looks like that, who knows? Then on the card Engulf the Shore, everybody wanted to know what was actually in the wave, because everybody thought, dude, that looks exactly like Merit Lage, or like Emrakul, or like some old Leviathans that we're familiar with from the artwork, maybe even an octopus. Or perhaps the term Kraken would be more appropriate. Then you look at the card Grotesque Mutation, and it has that same weird, like, cross-hatchy kind of thing going on the skin, and then something that looks really creepy. Then you go to the card Magnifying Glass, and you've got something really strange. It's the same sort of pattern, but what's happening is, if you look really closely, it looks like an actual eye. So there's an eyeball coming out of her shoulder, which would be definitely considered another grotesque mutation. And then, of course, you could look at the card Thrabin Inspector. What the heck is going on there? Like, even her face is like, what the heck is going on here? But the final strange clue that a lot of people caught, and this is the first one that I caught, was the card Incorrigible Youths. If you look really closely to the vampire that's biting the dude's hand, like right by his wrist, he has a third eye on his forehead. Now, in this small low-res release of the artwork from the Gatherer, you can't see it very well, but it's much, much, much clearer on the cards, because those are closer to like 300 DPI. That's at least triple the resolution of what I've got here, so I don't have a good enough scanner to just scan it in and show you, but just go pick up the card, it's an uncommon, and just look at it. So why is everybody growing more eyes? Because that's kind of specific, and why are there like tentacles and stuff everywhere? And why is the landscape not changing, but all the living things are changing? And why is just madness spreading everywhere? Now, if you aren't familiar with the storyline, you might have seen my wonderful summary of it, but it didn't include the latest chapter, so I'm going to sum it up right now. They built this thing, and by they I mean Nahiri, because she's really good at stone crafting, aka lithomancy. She's working with Tamio the Moon Chick, because she's been studying all this astrology crap with that other dude's journal, Genric or whatever his name was. And of course she renamed it Tamio's journal, even though it's his journal. But anyway, the two of them crafted a whole bunch of these pointing to all the different lines, so they're taking the flow of mana on the planet or whatever of Innistrad, and then they're directing it to one point, which is the Drownyard Temple. So they put them in a big old circle, bunch of energy bolts coming off it, and they're allegedly trying to pull in a spatial body that rivals the size of the moon, because they can already feel the effects of the gravity on the tides, and the tides are getting all screwed up. Remember in my completely serious estimation of what the storyline was going to be like far, far, far before the release, and I said they're going to build an airship and take it to the moon and they're going to have Space Jace? I was honestly not that far off. They built a giant like tractor beam that's grabbing another moon from somewhere. Like, where do you just get a spare moon? That's the problem. I don't quite get that. But instead of them going to the moon, they're bringing the moon to them. Like, I was like so close, and I was completely not serious in that video at all. So anyway, everybody assumed the madness and the magic and all the weird crap going on and the angels going crazy was because of the disruption in mana because of these cryptoliths, which are the little stone statue mana manipulator thingies. But when in reality, Jace figured out, hey, they're actually trying to beam in a moon or something equivalently large. So where does this all come together? Well, Ugin told Jace way back in Battle for Zendikar, when he was asking for, help with the Eldrazi, basically, quoted directly on the flavor text of the card, "You speak to me of the threat of Ulamog, but do not forget, they came as 3. And what did we get right after Battle for Zendikar? Oh, look, it's Kozilek coming up from the ground. Hi, Kozilek, how's it going? So Ulamog likes to eat things. Kozilek likes to distort the laws of physics and gravity and the world around him and that type of thing. And what does Emrakul do, the third Titan that's missing? I mean, they assume Emrakul left the plane, but they don't know, because, who knows where Kozilek was? He was just like, where is he? We only see Ulamog. Oh, he was hiding under the ground. Great. So where is Emrakul? Nobody knows. And everybody just thought, oh, cool, 5 years from now they'll go back and do an Emrakul thing and bring back Eldrazi. Then, of course, there was my theory that was shared with a lot of people, which is that Emrakul was supposed to be in the 3rd set in the block, but they went to 2 set blocks, and they already had the storyline and some of the cards written, and just they couldn't change it, so they're just like, I don't know, Emrakul disappeared, I don't know. On one of the red land destruction cards, there's actually a flavor text from Nahiri, because she's super mad at Sorin for not helping the Eldrazi get stopped a little bit sooner, because Zendikar's royally screwed up. She said that Innistrad will bleed like Zendikar did, and Sorin's gonna feel the same pain like I did, that sort of thing. So she's pissed, and they're focusing a bunch of mana to bring in something huge. So what did the clues say? When you unscramble the words, put them in the proper order, they actually said, word for word, "Do not forget they came as." And the only time that sentence was referenced was on the card Ugin's Insight, where he says about the Eldrazi, but do not forget they came as 3. So the implied 3 is saying, oh crap, all the clues are pointing towards Emrakul, and the extra eyes on the card, that's pointing towards Emrakul too. Why? Because Emrakul is famous for warping absolutely nothing but living creatures. So Emrakul shows up to your plane, all the rocks are fine, all the land is fine, trees are fine, well I guess there are living things, so probably not, but all the living things start mutating and just getting freaking crazy, like growing extra eyes and tentacles, like basically all of the cards that don't seem to fit with anything else. So I think they fit that extra eye onto incorrigible use on purpose, because it's all hints that it's Emrakul. So the problem that I'm having with this is Emrakul does not have enough mass to be considered like a moon-like, being or whatever. As far as I could tell from the pictures of it and the artwork, it's probably a kilometer or two tall, and that's it. I mean, you're talking maybe the size of a mountain versus the size of a moon. I mean, it's like 1,000 to 1 at least, probably 10,000 or 100,000 to 1 as far as mass. So let's say they're summoning Emrakul. She just doesn't have the mass to affect the tides. So they must be legitimately trying to pull in another moon. It's just, does Emrakul live on like a moon? Now, moons are made out of rock, and Nahiri's really good with rocks. And, Tamiyo knows everything about astrology and mana and planets and their motions and moons and how the moon affects, mana and werewolves. She's been studying it for years and years and years. So what I'm thinking is Tamiyo said, hey, I found Emrakul and she's hiding on a moon by herself, like that's not in orbit around something, or it's in orbit around another planet, or it's in another realm, but it's like a free-floating moon, something like that. And then Nahiri was like, dude, we should totally summon it to Innistrad. That place sucks. I hate Soren. And Tamiyo was like, let's do it. I don't know why. I mean, I haven't met her. I don't know if she seems nice. I wasn't playing during Kamigawa. So I think that they're summoning a moon that Emrakul is currently living on. And the closer the moon gets, the more crazy madness goes on, which would, explain why the humans are going crazy and not just the vampires, werewolves, and angels, because that makes sense because they're screwing with the moon and they're all based on the silver moon. And then, it's affecting the tides too, because, it's a giant massive body being either pulled in physically from the same realm or being, grabbed from another plane of existence. So that's where I think this is going, but as far as we know, it's like 95% confirmed that Emrakul was the reference. All the clues point there. I mean, what else would they possibly be saying? Are they like, is Ugin going to show up to the plane? I mean, even that wouldn't make sense. That's such an odd quote for them to pull. So that means get ready for some crazy Eldrazi crap in Eldritch Moon. And if I'm wrong, I will eat the silver moon. I will eat Innistrad's moon. It is made out of cheese, but I will eat the entire thing if I am wrong. And of course, I'd like to thank everybody who helped work on this mystery, everybody from Reddit. Too many to list right here, but you can go check out the post. I'll put a link in the description, the whole discussion about it. Probably the MTG Salvation page about it too. Honestly, I feel like I could have solved this in about 5 seconds because I'm really good with codes and stuff. I am originally a computer programmer, by the way. If you haven't assembled those clues and put that together, now you know. But unfortunately, I was too busy opening cards, sorting them, and selling them on eBay. So anyway, can't wait for the new set to start leaking cards or for Wizards to confirm it in the storyline or something, which it doesn't look like they did in the last one. I kind of skimmed it. No reference to Emrakul, more about Soren getting all pissed off and, I don't know, trying to go contact Olivia. So I look forward to reading that. You should all check that out. And I'll see you next video. Unless Emrakul destroys my channel and warps it into some, like, two-headed chipmunk.